Hi, I'm Scott Grady, the founding director of Haptic Architects.
Hi, I'm Timo Haedrich, also founding director at Haptic Architects.
We've known each other for probably 20 years now, along with Thomas Stocker, one of our other partners. We met at the Bartlett School of Architecture.
We like to work with each other there, and it was sort of one of the ideas was to set up a similar studio atmosphere in the new practice.
How do you stay creative? How do you find passion in the everyday?
I think it's a very interesting question, because you can very easily get sort of trapped in your ways, and I think staying creative for me means that you sometimes go outside of these comfort zones that your well-established ways, and I guess a place like London helps because you go out, you go to exhibitions, you meet other architects, you meet other creatives, and talk to them, and that just sort of gives you a good background, or a kind of matrix that you reference yourself in, and therefore hopefully question your own approach and attitude towards your own design and creative processes. So I think the environment that you're in is very important.
Yeah, I think I'd agree. It's how you keep exposing yourself to different cultures, and I think traveling as much as you can and exploring different cultures and landscapes and built environments is really key.
And how does London compare to Oslo, or how does Oslo compare to London? Are there differences, pros and cons, or?
I think so. What I find very interesting about Norway in general is that people are very outdoorsy and sort of like the big sort of landscapes and big nature. And then I think London is a lot more about different cultures coming together. So it's a sort of different landscape altogether.
Yeah, I think that, to be honest, there's greater diversity and richness in the London scene. You get less of that in Oslo, but then we love being in Norway because of those kind of landscape meets architecture.
Where does the design process start for you guys? Like, what do you think about first? What's your first move? Does it change? Is it always the same, or?
If we go through a competition process, it's very intense. We sort of have 3 or 4 weeks to 1 month maybe, where a lot of people work together, sit in a room and sort of really churn out the ideas, and sometimes that's the most valuable process. So I think definitely the site, but also what we as an architectural team bring to the project is something to hold on to, and important.
I think Timo's kind of talking about this thin red line that goes through the project. So as long as that's strong enough from the outset, you can quite often take that through to the detailed execution.
Do you think the time of the kind of singular architects leading the design team is gone? Do you think it's more kind of team-based collaborations for the future?
I mean, we very knowingly called ourselves Haptic because we didn't want our surnames in the company's as the company name, because we think people who work with us will then sort of feel a lot more ownership in the company and in the work that they do, and that was important to us, possibly because we worked for other companies, and you don't want people to feel like they're not involved, that they don't own the work. So I think the sort of star architect model wasn't really that interesting ever, but I think clients, the wider public, actually understand that a bit more maybe, like putting a name to a piece of work is always a very good way to understand something that maybe is very complex and not immediately understandable.
I think equally as valid as a star architect is just being very strong on your brand and your ethos. It's something like practices such as Snøhetta, based out in Oslo. They do that very well. They really understand their brand and their ethos and how that's delivered to some of the highest standards.
How do you find it being a young practice in a city like London? How do you find, was it difficult setting up? Is it difficult to survive with so much competition?
Yeah, it can be. I mean, we set up with zero work. We left our practices just on our gut feel that it was the right time to do it. We had enough we had enough experience after 7 years working in very good practices to go for it. I think it comes down to just drive and your ambition and just willingness to have a go. Business is about taking risks, and so you always take risks.
What gap is there between architectural education and practice, or is there a gap? Do you think there's a way to bridge it? What do you think?
I mean, I think inevitably there is a huge gap between education and the profession, and different people are trying to tackle that, but it's whether it's a bad thing, I suppose, or it's a positive. And coming from a school like the Bartlett, we think it's really positive actually that you've got creative freedom to literally do what you want in a way. You're far less constrained than you are in profession, but with that creativity and that sort of massive amount of exploration, you can bring all of that knowledge and experience into the profession.
How would you sum up your architectural education as a whole?
It was a real shock to the system coming to the Bartlett as a diploma student. But reflecting back, you just think, wow, that was an amazing experience, and it really set me up, for the future. I mean, I don't really have that sense of fear, I suppose, in the professional world, because I really went through the mill, being completely honest, at the Bartlett.
People there were so dedicated and focused that I always like to think I learned equal amounts from the other students there than I did from the tutors, which is probably unfair, but it felt that way because we all sat in a very small studio and day and night.
So that kind of camaraderie from school days, I think it's with you forever, which is really nice. I think sometimes it can be seen as a bit too inclusive, I guess, and maybe there's a little bit too much time with other architects. You need to make sure you get out there and have other friends.
Yeah.
What advice would you give to students who are studying architecture today?
Find something that you really like and put your passion and energy in, and then go with that.
And I guess also just think about, or muse with colleagues about where the profession might end up, and be thinking about that. Try to be an agent for change.